Originally, Strike Media reached out to me on behalf of Shudder to check out their latest film, Late Night with the Devil, and while I planned to do just that, some technical difficulties got in the way, and I had to patiently twiddle my thumbs a little bit until it found its official release on the horror streaming giant, Shudder. Patience is indeed a virtue, though. Upon watching the film late at night, I gotta say, there's a lot to discuss. Let's get cracking! Late Night with the Devil is a film that operates a bit like a mockumentary, following a late night host named Jack Delroy back in the late 1970s, 1977 to be precise. His ratings are plummeting, especially against the Johnny Carson show, so he plans something different during Sweeps Week to revitalize the show a little bit, and that is to invite the devil through a demonic possession live on air for an interview. Among the list of guests, a skeptic scoffs it all off as trickery, but be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it. Production design is, in a lot of ways, the art of transporting an audience into a film. Unfortunately, most lower budgeted films lack the resources to procure a really good production designer because they work kind of like freelancers. They set their own pay, plus they know their worth. As the saying goes, you get what you pay for, and low budget says it all. Yet, every once in a while, you do get a little bit lucky. Late Night with the Devil is one such film. So before I really get into the review, I kind of wanted to shine a light on the production designer since they don't usually get nearly as much recognition as they should. Production designer Othello Stolfo did such a great job bringing back the reminiscent look, feel, and atmosphere of what 1977 television was all about. The lead character was the only actor that I feel like I've seen in the past. Otherwise, the film might 100% convince me that it was indeed shot during that time period. Everything from the quality to the aspect ratio to the sets to the hairstyles to the certain lines of dialogue felt genuinely like what you might experience nearly a half century ago when watching TV. The dialogue itself felt reminiscent of how Jay Leno used to deliver some of his lines when he was the host of The Tonight Show. Granted, that was not during 1977, but because Leno was who I grew up watching, it was still nostalgic to see the same types of quips there. There was also a witty nod to Ed and Lorraine Warren since, technically, they were real people, not just characters in a popular horror franchise, so that was pretty cool. Speaking of the horror genre though, one has to ask, is this movie scary? Maybe, depending on your horror preferences. Horror, like comedy, is extremely subjective. The nostalgic feeling of the 1970s and realism of a decades-old talk show might transport certain audiences back to a time when a majority of the biggest names in horror were just beginning to bloom. Films such as The Exorcist, Halloween, The Omen, The Amityville Horror, and a whole lot more were just beginning to kick off their horror craze. And a lot of those films are franchises that continue to seep out sequel after sequel to this day, holding out for hope that one day the newer films will boast just as much popularity as the originals, and of course they never do. As the film is mainly a film on demonic possession, I say you'll probably get more throwbacks to The Exorcist than anything, including a young girl, cracked pale skin, eyes that change color, a healthy serving of unearthly vomit to boot. But I mean, there is a solid reason to believe audience members will love being scared by this flick if they miss the classics. If, however, you prefer the look, vibe, and approach to horror that you can get out of current horror films such as The Conjuring or something else filled with brim with jump scares galore, then you will be bored with this movie and scoff at the idea that it belongs in a realm of horror, while it instead, to you, feels more so like a satire or even spoof on a genre that they love. I wholeheartedly disagree though. There are truly remarkable films in the 70s as well as those that come out today, but more often than not, cheap jump scares are just that, they're cheap. Not much thought goes into them, and they leave temporary impressions at most. Late Night with the Devil leaves a lasting impression as a fun, nostalgic, possibly unnerving horror film that has love and passion for the origins of the genre. True fans of the genre will most likely fall in love with the film as it stands out as a true and impressive gem that more people probably need to watch. I'm gonna give this an A-. I figured I would enjoy it just in general, but I didn't think that it would actually be technically good. But you could definitely tell there's a lot of passion that was put in there by people that loved the 70s and the horror films that came out during that decade. So if that sounds like you, go ahead, check out this film. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about it. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. But until then, peace out.
Late night with the devil, the show's about to begin. Step into the darkness, let the nightmares in. With a flicker of nostalgia and a touch of sin. Late night with the devil, where the horror begins.